partner with the states is that ability to be able to transition and move on. And there's always a historical knowledge of what you're doing. Beyond the benefits of that, we run in the district a very unique program. I believe out of all 56 territories and states that FMCSA deals with, I'm pretty sure we are the only state that is 100% urban. We don't have a rural aspect. We don't have a large interstate highway system. We have about 6.8 miles of interstate highway system. We don't deal with a lot of the traditional commercial motor vehicle problems that most states are dealing with. What we're dealing with are very local drivers doing deliveries, very local drivers doing construction projects. And those are where the issues and concerns that we have as a city have. Howard has taken the approach that the police department and governments have said that they want to do, an all government approach, right? Howard has kind of taken that. They work with MPD, the enforcement side, but they're also working with DDOT and their engineering side and their infrastructure side. They're bringing in an entire government approach. So when Dr. Aaron and his team may be dealing with stuff on the DDOT side, on the infrastructure side, on the crash side, they're bringing that knowledge of the enforcement side that MPD is doing, and they have a knowledge to pass on to DDOT, because we may be the same government. Sometimes maybe the enforcement and the infrastructure side, we may not play well together. We may not communicate the best. But again, as a government, Howard University is there to kind of round those corners out for us, which is a very good thing. And I say that with DDOT, I have a very close working relationship with my counterpart on the DDOT side, Laura McNeil, who does the oversized, overweight and stuff for the district. So we do have close relationships, but outside of that, Howard is being brought in as an all government approach to help us address the problems and making the city streets safer. We talked about DC not being that conventional state that we look outside of our little 62 square miles. We have 0 to 3 fatal crashes a year that are results from commercial motor vehicles being involved. We have 280 to 380 reportable commercial motor vehicle crashes where a vehicle has been disabled that needs to be towed, there's an injury or there's a fatality. Unfortunately, the reportable crashes increased over the last couple of years. That's not a good thing. We always want our crash data to go down. I don't think our crash data has went up as significantly as we thought. I think we've always been there and we've just done a really bad job of reporting it. But with technology and the help of everyone, we're now reporting those crashes and we have more. Unfortunately, our fatal crashes this year are up. We have 4 commercial motor vehicle fatal crashes this year. It's the most we've seen in a long time. The unfortunate part of that is 3 of the crashes are the same exact scenario. It is a large commercial motor vehicle, be it a dump truck, a bus, or think big, right? It's a large commercial motor vehicle straight truck making a right-hand turn at an intersection and hitting a bicyclist or pedestrian and killing them. So, you know, that's something that DDOT and I are now working on. How do we get the message out? It is a problem, especially if we've seen 3 of our crashes now involve that. So it's a problem, whether it's a commercial motor vehicle problem, whether it's a bicyclist and pedestrian problem. I think there's awareness that we need to work on as a government, where Howard can help us with that as well. We can do media outreach. We can do whatever we need to do. And that's what we're going to be focusing on as we continue through the downside of our summer months. I guess summer's almost over, into the fall months, is we're planning the next fiscal year. What are we doing with that? But Howard does a great job of that. Howard is collecting all of our crash data. Every month, I'm sorry, every quarter, I'm sending them reports, and Howard is preparing my quarterly reports for me. To me, Howard University is a force multiplier. I have 6 police officers, inspectors, myself, and now a part-time inspector not assigned to us that has other duties as well, but can do commercial motor vehicle inspections. On top of that, we still are a part of the special operations division in the district, where we're working baseball games, soccer games. We're moving the president of the United States, the president of Israel, who was just here last week. We're dealing with First Amendment demonstrations. So we're spread thin, and that's something that police agencies around the country are seeing, is a shortening of manpower, personnel, and being pulled in different directions, where I can look at Howard and they're taking care of right now. They're working. They just finished my 3rd quarter report for FMCSA. They're working, and I think they just finished our CBSP application for next fiscal year. And in about 2.5, 3 months, they're going to be working on my 4th quarter and year-end reports, to where this is something, they're a force multiplier to me. I don't have to worry about that. When they're done with it, they're going to let me know if there's questions. We talk about it and we work it out and we do that. But to me, they are a force multiplier. On top of those things, they're doing this summit. A couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I asked them to do a little bit of market research. I'm exploring hiring a civilian to help do some of the stuff, and they were able to do some of the market research and go out into the field to do the stuff that I just may not have the time to do. I don't have the gumption to do. There are only a certain number of hours in the day. So to me, as a state partner, they really are a force multiplier, where instead of having 6 people, I may now have 26 people. So that's a benefit, I think, to the state. And if you're trying to partner with some of your agencies, those are some of the things that you can talk to your agencies, because we're small. We may be the smallest mix-app unit that we have in the country, but not by far. There's Rhode Island and there's Vermont, and there's some of those smaller Northeast states that probably have similar, maybe double the number of inspectors. They may have 14 rather than 6 or 7. So, that's something that is very beneficial to your state partners, your enforcement partners. I got a little off here. So that's what we do. The other aspect of this, as Howard's dealing and they're compiling all of this traffic crash data and commercial vehicle data, they're pointing us in a direction. With 6 people, if I have everyone working today, I need to know the best way to deploy my resources. They helped us apply for a grant, a discretionary grant in the middle of the year. We threw that on them at the last minute. The HBCU grant, we're hoping that FMCSA, some of the bosses in the back, DC really would like that grant application. We're trying to introduce more technology. It's the analogy I use is I send officers out right now and they just go inspect a truck. We're like, I see a truck, there's a truck, I see a truck, I inspect a truck. Maybe it's a good truck. Maybe the motor carrier is a good motor carrier. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're a good driver. Maybe they're not. I don't know that. The technology that I've asked Howard to apply for another grant for us will give us that information. It uses a camera system. It uses technology. It uses thermal imaging. It uses a roundabout message to say, instead of just see truck, stop truck, inspect truck, I'm using technology now to go, this truck needs to be stopped, and this is the reason why. It's going to help us effectively stop traffic. I can go out and stop 5,000 vehicles a year. 50% of the time, maybe I picked the right motor carrier to get off the road. They're doing something so inherently dangerous. They're an immediate threat and risk to public safety. I'm shutting them down. You're out of service. 50% of the time, maybe I pick it right. Maybe I don't. With this technology, it's going to zoom in on this is a bad motor carrier. This motor carrier has a history of safety problems. This motor carrier, you want to focus your effort and attention on. That's the type of things that I need. With the map data that Howard University provides, I know where our crash corridors are in the city. The largest crash corridor runs from, if you're familiar with Washington, D.C., Route 50 in the Maryland side, turns into New York Avenue. New York Avenue runs east-west through the city, almost all the way to the White House, actually all the way to the White House. 3 blocks north and 3 blocks south. That is my crash corridor for Washington, D.C. That is where the most commercial motor vehicles are wrecking in the city. If I know that, if I have someone that can show me that, I now know when and where to deploy my resources to get the best bang for the buck. I don't have the time to go through thousands and thousands of crash records, not a year, probably a day and a week, thousands of records. Howard University does that for us. So I know where to deploy my personnel to make it the best bang for the buck right there. So that's where the partnership, I think, between your state enforcement agencies and your educational resources really can help. There's no way I could do this job without Howard University. There's absolutely no way. I would have to have double the size of the office, and I've been told I'm not getting that. So the best I can get is probably a civilian. So, but that'll help. But that's the relationship that I have with Howard University. I think they're listening to other states, Virginia State Police, and then Virginia, that there's a strong relationship with their Virginia universities too. And I really think that that's what you have to do to take the approach, right? Your enforcement partners have to be able to reach out and ask for that help from the education institutions, because they're the ones that are going to be able to do this. They are our force multipliers. I don't need 20 more people because I have Dr. Aaron and his team, and I know anytime I need something, they're going to be there to do it. Do I have questions? I was trying to mix it up, but we went a little bit over last time, which is good. I didn't have much to fill a half hour here other than the praises of Howard University. No? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sergeant Moore, for your valuable input. We will be having a Q&A session shortly. For the virtual attendees, if there are any questions, please feel free to send them in the chat. We will be taking a break till 2:15, and we will come back for a Q&A session. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you so much. I want to ask my friend to yeah, so that's. Okay.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. We will be starting the Q&A session. Mr. Richard Johnson, State Programs Manager for Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration.
Okay. All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is a great session we're having today. Before I get started, I'd just like to say, Dr. Aaron, you and your students are top notch. This would have been me back in school. I've been nervous and fumbling and bumbling, but you guys are doing great. Yeah. So this session is a Q&A session, and it looks like we don't have anything in the chat yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is answer some previously sent questions. And I think a lot of the questions were answered today in a lot of the sessions. So I'll just kind of bring those points back up. So the first one I have, what grants to apply for in the areas that FMCSA is most interested in? So of course, we already know we're mostly interested in commercial motor vehicle safety. And one of the top grants that was talked about today by Patrick was the high priority commercial motor vehicle grant. There are a lot of opportunities within that grant, and there are a lot of options as well. Just a couple of things to name in that grant. You could do like Howard is doing, want to kind of mimic their program, data analysis, public awareness and education, passenger safety initiatives. So like outreach, they have a lot of outreach projects going on across the nation. So these are a couple of ideas that that you could kind of come up at your universities. Now, before I go any further, I just want to mention also, if you do submit an application and that application isn't selected that year, do not get discouraged. Use that application as a training tool for the next grant cycle. A lot of times applications are denied and folks get discouraged and turn away from the agency and don't come back. We want you to come back and we want you to reapply, but we'll use that first one as a training opportunity, because you do get responses on these applications and they will talk about them with you as well. Okay, the next question, further insight into the work of FMCSA and how my institution can collaborate on future projects. And I thought that question should be grouped with another question, which was more insight on the direction of future endeavors of the FMCSA. Again, Patrick and Taff spoke on this one in the National Roadway Safety Strategy. safer people, safer roads, safer vehicles, and safer speeds, and post-crash care. A lot of this has not quite been ironed out by our agency. We're working on it, but we also take some additional assistance from educational institutions. As Patrick said, you guys are the smart ones. And I'm sorry, everyone, I'm looking into the camera, not out to the, I'm looking to the camera. But you guys are the smart ones that have all this knowledge and are the thought leaders. So we'll take, use you guys as resources and your resources to kind of help us for our mission at the agency. So future endeavors, just kind of keep an eye out for the National Roadway Safety Strategy, which is on the FMCSA website, and it's in detail on that website. Okay, looking for the opportunity to work with colleagues from other universities in area of research and writing proposals. So we also have, in addition to our what Patrick said earlier, we have universities that kind of partner with junior colleges. We have the university transportation centers. This is on our website as well. The University Transportation Centers is a group of universities, HBCUs and non-HBCUs. I think our first HBCU went in this year was Morgan State, I believe. So they share knowledge, and they're all on one single website, and they all kind of communicate with each other. So getting into the university transportation centers is a great idea if you're seeking other colleagues from other universities. Okay, the next one, we'd like to become familiar with its programs. I'm assuming its is FMCSA. We do have a webpage, www.fmcsa.dot.gov. And on that webpage, you look up grants. It's on the landing page, which is a large part of our organization. So it explains all the different types of grants. And again, the one highly recommended grant is high priority CMV, commercial motor vehicle. Partnership opportunities, that goes back to reaching out to the lead mix-up agency in your state. That would likely be the state police or one of the police agencies in your local area. You can reach out to them and kind of discuss opportunities with them, possibly sub-grantee, or if you want to kind of put your own application in, you'd have to wait for that next round of grants to come around. Additional opportunities and avenues for students, faculty, and staff development. Okay, so Tom King brought this point up. We do have positions in the agency. They are on usajobs.gov. Pathways, recent grants, STIP dig opportunities. Right now in the East, we have what we call entry-level positions, what we call safety investigator positions. And also we're looking for state program specialists. So there's always an opportunity in our agency for student and faculty development, because we have a lot of openings as a result of the transportation infrastructure bill that was signed by Joe Biden. Okay, to learn more about FMCSA opportunities for HBCUs, I myself have promoted HBCUs, partnership with our agency. I was on a CIAA roadshow, went down to Claflin University, Johnson C. Smith, Livingstone College, and Winston-Salem State University, as well as Bowie State. And in addition to trying to recruit students for jobs, I look for administrative individuals to try to attract them to some of our grant opportunities as well. So there's always, there's some upcoming events too. I'm not sure we want to put them out yet, but they will be coming eventually with some HBCU activities in one of our regions. Okay. Student exposure and exploring potential research and internship opportunities. We have internship opportunities available every summer. You have to keep an eye out on usajobs.gov. you want to apply early and your student has to have all of his information or their information in properly, so it'll be a smooth transition to the position. But those opportunities are always there annually. Research grant opportunities. Tom Keene talked about the research grant opportunities earlier. They will send out information on the arts website. He is having I guess an open house on August the 1st, and it will kind of show you what research grants are available and how to apply for them. Okay, learn about potential collaborations and funding opportunities. That goes back to state partnerships and UTC, University Transportation Centers. One thing I wanted to mention as well too, grants.gov is your friend. Grants.gov has all of our grants listed there. This was mentioned earlier as well, but grants.gov has all of our grants and what we call notice of funding opportunity. So our national priorities in these notices of funding opportunities for 2023 were traffic enforcement, special emphasis areas, CMV safety on rural roads, passenger safety. Okay, we're all right. Human trafficking and public awareness and education. So these are all opportunities for universities to kind of, when they write these applications, to include these in their application, in their proposals. Okay. Currently, our college is reinstating our workforce CTE department. The new director for this department is seeking grant opportunities to offer potential certificate or degree programs that would fit under the CTE. Excellent. If you could reach out to us, reach out to Dr. Aaron and his group, and then kind of reach out. If you see my name, my information is on the slide. I think all the participants' information will be sent out to everyone today, all the contact information. Reach out to us so we can kind of sit down and discuss with you what the specifics of what you're trying to do, and then we can kind of recommend your grant pathway for you if you would like to apply. Okay.
One question from the chat.
Okay.
I'll just open it for you. Actually, two questions now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There you go. That's the first one. I'll just large it. There you go.
Okay. Can Mr. Johnson speak to any existing partnerships between universities, law enforcement, and private companies? Is that a case study he can share? In short, I'm asking about public-private partnerships where the private company may bring the innovative idea. So in my experience in the East, the best partnership I have seen thus far has been Howard University and the Metropolitan Police Department. Although it's mine as a private entity, that's not to say that a private entity may be used, but we have to check and see, they may not be able to be funded by grant funds. But Howard University is by far right now the best example I have for law enforcement and universities. I hope that answers your question, Leah. Okay, Patrick mentioned that a proposal may capture a great concept, but could be disqualified due to technical errors. Is there a possibility of someone reviewing a draft proposal prior to formal submission to catch these technical errors? Now that is where it gets a little dicey. So you can write the proposal. We can't read the proposal as FMCSA employees when the application period is active. And that's why I say if the proposal doesn't make it the first time, if it fails, we can definitely review that one to make it better for the next time around. So when you are filling out or putting your proposal together, you have to be very diligent on following all the instructions that are included in grants.gov. I've seen it many, many times Thankfully, I'm seeing it less now where proposals or more people are kind of following the instructions to a T. But I've seen great proposals that have not made it through only because of technical errors. And technical errors don't necessarily mean that it wasn't eligible. It means that you just didn't dot your I, cross your T. So we kind of want to avoid that. Grants, like I said, grants.gov is a great resource for that. You can reach out to any of us in the agency for information. It's just that we have a limitation on how much we can tell you when it comes to the actual proposal. I hope that helps. Monique. All right. I think that's it for the chat. So that's about all I have. Does anyone in the room have a question? Okay, great. That's great. So I look forward to seeing more applications in the East. I am the state program specialist, and forgive me, I didn't formally introduce myself. I'm Richard Johnson. I'm the state program manager for the Eastern Service Center, work under the office of Taft Kelly. So in the East, we kind of review the grants that come in through the technical review process. So I see every single application that comes. I have to read every single application. And this past year, I saw a lot of great applications from university. And I just want to know, I want that number just to go up and up. So for those of you out here at the universities, and this has been said, this is the theme of the day. Everyone is, we're passionate about what we do. We're looking for diversity. We're all about safety and all about zero deaths. I want everyone, all my HBCUs to consider applying for this grant money. Is here to help you and help us and help the nation. And I just look forward to seeing everyone apply. And I know Livingstone College is out there because I saw your name on the invite list. I see you at homecoming too. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. As he mentioned earlier, I will be sending out the contact information and some other information from the slideshows from today's summit to the email. So for the next session, for the acquisition session, I want to invite Dr. Willie Smith, Senior Procurement Executive in the Office of the Secretary, USDOT, to come and say some words. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Do I need this open or because I want to put my notes someplace? I don't want to put them on top of the computer. I guess I can put them there, but I might start typing away if something happens here. So, okay, you'll be here just in case. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody, again, and thank you for welcoming us here to talk with you today. My name is Willie Smith, and I am the Senior Procurement Executive for the United States Department of Transportation. And it's kind of interesting because I have the organizational responsibility for roughly $9 billion a year in federal direct procurement that we do within the Department of Transportation. I also have the a significant amount of policy oversight and guidance for the $100 billion that we administer in grants and financial assistance across the department. That is a number that's obviously growing as a result of the bipartisan infrastructure law, and it'll probably be upwards of $200 billion by the time that we're done with this. So there's a lot of activity going on there. It's kind of interesting in so many ways because as we continue to carry out the president's management agenda and the secretary's mission for the department, we focus on a lot of things. And you've heard some of it today, I'm sure, but we focus on things like safety and infrastructure and climate and sustainability, and certainly diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Safety is always at the front of our list of things because when you think about it, that's what transportation is all about, getting people and products safely from one place to the other and back. So we put a premium on safety in everything that we do. So with all those reasons, it's good to be here today. I mentioned the $9 billion in grants and the $9 billion in contracts and the $100 billion or so in grants that the department does. Well, as I said, with the bill, bipartisan infrastructure law, billions of additional dollars are coming into the department. Because of Bill, I want to talk about some of the various opportunities that exist today in ways that had not been the case at different times in our past. I always like to draw a mental picture when I get here, when I'm discussing this, on how, on the one hand, we have an administration that has $1 trillion, almost over $1 trillion to spend on infrastructure and rebuilding our country. On the other hand, we have an administration that is putting renewed emphasis and efforts on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and looking to underserved communities in ways that we know we can do better in our country. The Eisenhower interstate highway system in the 1950s was perhaps the last time that we had this size investment in our infrastructure. The Eisenhower Highway Initiative developed an interstate highway system to open up the country to make more accessible educational institutions, healthcare facilities, employment opportunities, and opportunities in so many different areas. Because before that, if I'm driving to North Carolina, which I often do, I would have been on 301 stopping at every stoplight. Now you can go from New Hampshire all the way to Florida without stopping, unless you got to take a personal comfort moment or something, but you can go all the way down because that's the way we open up the interstate highway system. The thing about that, though, is during the 1950s, Blacks, women, and other groups were not in the conversation in meaningful ways the way that they are today. I would imagine that in the 1950s, universities received various grants to provide research, studies, and data to support informed decisions on economic impact, technical evaluations, and an assortment of other areas that could benefit from academia. I would imagine also that various HBCUs and minority serving institutions were not in those conversations in meaningful ways either back in the 1950s. As a result of where we were in our society at that time, many groups were left behind. But as a result of that, we can see those groups being left behind. But I think we have to be keenly aware of the observation that someone made. I think it was Dr. King who said, "He who falls behind in a race must forever remain behind or run faster than the person in front to catch up." So let's fast forward to today as we continue to think about the infrastructure bill and yet another opportunity, major opportunity to invest upwards of $1 trillion in our infrastructure. And imagine all of the innovation requirements for rail and commuter services across the nation. Think about the insertion of new technologies as we expand the use of electric vehicles and driverless cars and charging stations. And think about the emerging technologies as we talk about enhancing our aviation capabilities and safety in that regard. One cannot help but observe that this is an environment that is ripe for new entrants with new ideas and new perspectives coming into the arena. I caught a little bit of the last conversation with regards to what we're trying to do and what communities we're trying to get to and what practitioners we're trying to get to. And we are definitely trying to get to new entrants because that goes back to not business as usual. Let's find out where we have an opportunity to do better than what we perhaps done at different times in the past. So we have some opportunities in this new environment to use the brilliance of our business community and our students at HBCUs to showcase our talents and intellect and to build wealth around those opportunities. In the Department of Transportation, we're working to enhance to embrace the administration vision in several ways. However, the two important things that I'm focused on that I want to talk about a little bit more today is recruitment and hiring with a focus on minority serving institutions and HBCUs. And two, helping to identify contract and grant opportunities for underserved communities. I won't go into great detail on the recruitment area because the overarching strategy for procurement and recruitment rests with our Office of Human Resources. However, as the senior procurement executive for the department, among other responsibilities, I am the acquisition career manager for the Department of Transportation for all of the contracting officers and contract specialists who need to be certified and warranted to carry out their work on a day-to-day basis. And I've been aware for many years of the portability of the contracting acquisition staff, especially in Washington, D.C. It is a skill set that people can go from agency to agency very seamlessly because that skill set is being sought after. And there are challenges associated with recruitment and retention of capable and qualified practitioners. So I certainly have an interest in the recruitment and retention part of it. Also, In the post-COVID environment, there are challenges with recruitment and retention of acquisition staff as we determine what the federal government of the future will look like. We talk about remote work. We talk about expanded telework. There's so many things there. But I do have a counterpart who is the lead official for much of this in the department when we're talking about hiring and recruitment and retention. And we work hand in hand on recruitment initiative there. Someone mentioned, I think the last speaker talked a little bit about the HBCU Roadshow. I've been spending quite a bit of time traveling on those also. We've either visited or otherwise engaged with Morgan State University, Fayetteville State University, my alma mater, Jackson State University, Bowie State University, and others. We are presently working to travel down to Dillard University, I think in New Orleans, in the August timeframe. And we have had some discussions with Gramblin's president also, and we're talking about what that might mean. So you can see we're doing the outreach when it comes to these communities. So DOT also though, and I will say this with the hiring perspective and not get out of my lane too much, but DOT is in the midst of an unprecedented hiring surge as we're seeking to do a lot of things to deliver on the bipartisan infrastructure law. We are looking to fill some 1,700 positions over the next 5 years that directly support the bipartisan infrastructure law. Plus, we'll be continuing to hire for our normal workload also because we still got to keep that part of the mission going. So in addition to the travel that I do as a senior procurement executive to all across the country to different places, I focus most heavily on the HBCU road trips and also some of the grant and contract opportunities that might be available there. So all of DOT modal administrations, I think there are 10, and I always say this, I think there are 10 because one day someone has merged or someone has separated and it can go from 8 to 10 and down to 9, but I think it's 10. I think it's 10 today, so I'll go there. But all of our operating administrations are seeing increases in opportunities for new entrants into the grants and contracts arena. So with the bipartisan infrastructure law, focusing on reducing lead pipes, improving high-speed internet, building better roads and bridges, updating and upgrading airports and other ports, making investments in passenger rail, establishing networks of electric vehicle charging stations, upgrading our power infrastructure, and focusing on climate and sustainability and the opportunity for so many things. Well, when I look at that, the opportunities for grants and contracts and student interns and academic research and analysis and university technology centers and small disadvantaged businesses and all these other resources, there are some important opportunities that are available to us in ways that have not been at different times in the past. We all have to be ready to take advantage of these opportunities because there are several things that just carry truth with them for individuals as well as countries. And one thing is that our lives are defined by opportunities, even the ones that we miss. We don't want to miss these. So when we talk about the bipartisan infrastructure law as a historic investment in the resilience of our infrastructure, it goes to a number of areas such as climate change and cyber risk and other hazards. I think we all recognize that technology, especially in this information age, is useful in so many ways for improving our society. However, I think we should also recognize that with those opportunities that exist for positive change, there are those who have other more damaging agendas. And so as we modernize and connect to our world, the cybersecurity risk continues to grow. In areas such as our nation's infrastructure is not impervious to those risks. Any disruption targeted toward the critical communications technology, the transportation and utilities upon which citizens rely, and a range of other things that we rely so heavily on, can have adversely impactful economic and physical consequences if we're not paying attention. So we need to pay attention. The bipartisan infrastructure law recognizes and discusses a range of cybersecurity specific programs. And if I recall correctly, it offers opportunities for spending from numerous other programs on cybersecurity preparedness and response, which have the ability to be integrated into our other infrastructure investments. I mentioned this here because the challenges are as real as the opportunities, and we have to be prepared for those challenges as well. As I travel to universities, small business forums, engage with others, for-profit and nonprofit organizations, I recognize that we are in a mode of providing information as well as receiving information. I often tell people, we in the government do not have the corner on the market of best ideas. we're looking for a lot of people and a lot of our agencies and a lot of universities and nonprofits and others to help inform the discussion so that we can all make sure that we're doing this right in the best way for our country. I'm constantly in a mode of assessing the opportunities and challenges for engagement with business and academia and others. When I go out to academia and on the road shows as the procurement executive, there are about 10 questions that I always try to leave the universities with, and we're talking chancellors and presidents and others. The first question is I ask, what challenges and barriers does your HBCU face in obtaining government contracts or grants or cooperative agreements? And what capability or capacity do you need to develop that we can help with? I inquire about the types of business training that your school would benefit from that is most related to federal grants and contracts and cooperative agreements. I pose the question, in the event that funding opportunities will significantly increase for your school, what ways could your school support the economic development of the local community, inclusive of or exclusive of job creation? When I was down at Jackson University, it's kind of interesting. I left campus to go to the home of Medgar Evers. And it was kind of interesting driving through the community there and getting to the home where he lived and was killed. And his home is still intact. And I think the National Park Service or the Interior keeps that maintained. But right around the corner, right the next door was some communities that were in disrepair in a number of different ways. And it dawned on me that that's probably the environment that he would have come from, given his message and the kind of things that he was trying to communicate back in the 60s. So it makes sense that, you know, his house was still intact, but all the surrounding area still has some opportunities for some things to be done. And so as I'm talking to officials at Jackson State University, we're talking about, so you get a bag of money on your porch tomorrow. What do you do for Jackson State University? What do you do for the surrounding community? What do you do there? And I asked that question of all universities. Fayetteville State has an amazing program, and I won't talk too much here about that because I have a limited amount of time here. But I was looking at some of the things they're doing and some of the mobility labs that they have in women in government, women in construction. And while I was there, they were having a training session for women around the local community that was sponsored by Fayetteville State. Not students, not necessarily potential students, but people who were just out there trying to find a job and trying to do some things. And Fayetteville State was doing some stuff there. So that was kind of it. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Two important questions that I ask of HBCUs along with those 10 is, how can your HBCU better collaborate with each other and align their capabilities in support of the increase in contractual and technical mission of the federal government and industry? And what collaboration models or partnerships with industry, academia, or nonprofits have been beneficial to your school? I spent half of my career with the Department of Defense. And so I have familiarity with a number of important research facilities and opportunities they have going on. So when I learned of the 15th University Affiliated Research Center and Howard University's role in leadership in what they call the UARC through the consortium of HBCUs, I was thinking, this is what I'm talking about. This is the collaboration that I'm talking about. So with that, and I don't remember the billions of dollars that are tied to this thing, but it's important. It's the first time that historically Black university has gotten the leadership to do this kind of thing. It's a really big deal. And they're partnering with Jackson State University, Tuskegee, and Hampton, and Bowie, and Norfolk, and Delaware State, and Florida Memorial, and Tougaloo College in Mississippi. And like I said, I thought to myself, this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say collaborate, because you got to look at the resource that you have available. I go further to inquire about some of the creative ways that HBCUs can share their needs and successes with each other through technology and relationships like that. And our university technology centers and other things help to facilitate some of that, our small business transportation centers. I emphasize the importance of unique capabilities that your school have, because it's interesting to me. As I said, we don't have the corner on the market of best ideas. They're all over the place. So we may have a capability statement or a capability gap. We may have a procurement forecast. We may have a number of things that talk about what we're looking to buy going forward. But we may not have gotten everything. That may be an idea of someone sitting in their garage right now talking about electronic charging stations or something in ways that we've never even thought about. And there may be some opportunities there. There may be some students sitting in a laboratory writing code for something right now that's going to help us in ways that we've never thought about it. So unsolicited proposals and those kind of things become a part of the equation as well. I pull information regarding what other infrastructure related needs the school might have to participate in federal research, such as cyber and certificates and certifications in technology lab. I wrap up by asking if you have an awareness of the use of the DOT procurement forecast to identify specific opportunities. Our procurement forecast list, and I think the one now goes out a couple of years, but by operating administration, by general work area, by contract type, it talks about what we think we're going to be buying over the next year or so, when we think we're going to be buying it, the type of contract vehicle we might be using, and a range of other things. If I'm a business person or a university and I'm planning for a future, this is one of the best tools to use to plan, because it gives you an opportunity to look at what we think we're going to be doing and then model your business around that. And then the last question I kind of ask is, are you aware of how to reach the appropriate small business specialists in the various operating administrations across the department? Because we have a small business specialist in each of the operating administrations, FAA, Federal Highway, Federal Motor Carrier, MIRAD, and the list goes on and on. So I ask those questions because you can come to me and ask the senior procurement executive, but I'm going to be talking up here. You need to talk to the person. If you think you have something in aviation, you need to be talking to the Federal Aviation Administration, or need to be talking to the Federal Railroad Administration. And these are this is the responsibility of the small business specialists. So I've talked about a number of important opportunities today. And just because, you know, there's so many important opportunities we should be preparing for, and it's different than it has been at just about any time in our past. When I think about the interstate highway system, and I'm not saying this is good, bad, or indifferent, it is what it is, or it was what it was. But when I think about, I just drove back from North Carolina a couple of weeks ago, and as I'm driving down, every exit had some place to get gas, food, and shelter. And just about every place had a Howard Johnson's, a Holiday Inn, a McDonald's, a KFC, a Wendy's. And I'm thinking, wow, this must have been a really strategic kind of thing to position your restaurants and hotels along the interstate going from Florida to Maine or wherever you're going. And so when I look at Ray Kroc, the founder, I think, of McDonald's, and Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's, and Colonel Harlan Sanders, the founder of KFC, I'm thinking these were business opportunities and business investments that were made at a time where they have made billions of dollars in personal and wealth for their friends and their families over the last 50 years or so. We have an opportunity now to do something similar with the bipartisan infrastructure bill and the billions of dollars that are coming into the economy as a result of that, and all of the entrepreneurial spirit that exists within communities that were not necessarily a part of the conversation, as I said, in meaningful ways back in the 1950s. So we need to be taking advantage of those kind of things. The landscape in the 50s was, you know, open up so many things in so many different ways, and we have an opportunity to do some of that too. So I've talked about the involvement or the absence thereof of various groups in that, but I would like to leave you before taking questions or commenting on other things. But I'd like to leave you with my observation about the urgency of the moment. It's important that we recognize, and I've talked about the past, I've talked about the future and where we think we can go and the opportunities that are available to us. It occurs to me that we can't change what has already happened, but it is important that we recognize that we can change what happens next. We have an opportunity to do something. And as I'm talking to businesses, I'm talking to HBCUs, I'm talking to other minority serving institutions, as I'm talking to large businesses and talking to traditional sources that we've gone to, I spend a lot of time talking about all these things because it's about the country. It's about where the country needs to be. And I know I said, I guess Dr. King said the other one, but I know that I remember reading him saying this one, that, you know, whether we came here on a Mayflower, or maybe you came here on a potato boat, or maybe you came here on a slave ship, we're all in the same boat now. And you should take no comfort in the hole in my end of the boat, because if the hole is in my end of the boat, we're all going to sink together. So I look at that and I think about that, and I think about HBCUs and minority serving institutions and others, and small and large businesses and traditional businesses. And I'm the senior procurement executive for the Department of Transportation, which services 360 million people across the country of all different perspectives. Well, I'm trying to do whatever we can do to encourage everyone to participate in the process as a part of this. So anyway, that's all I have to say. So in the words of my favorite philosopher, Forrest Gump, and that's all I got to say about that. Thank you so much. Okay, so I answered all the questions. I tried to anticipate everything that might be asked when I put the presentation together. I didn't think I would do that well a job. But thank you all so very much. I really appreciate it. It was good being here. Thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, for your valuable input. Now for the closing address, I would like to invite on stage Dr. Stephen Arlen and Mr. Captain.
So thank you. I use this quote, without any fear of any successful contradiction. We had a great first summit here today. We talked about research, grant, and acquisitions. These are all opportunities for HBCUs and MSIs to participate in our program. We have also demonstrated a model that is deployable elsewhere with Howard University. And Howard, is part of the grant from FMCSA, will provide technical assistance to whomever will like that assistance. They are a proven model. They have been extremely successful in this space with the Department of Transportation. So therefore, I encourage you to take us up on our word. I believe you taste, you will see that what we have to offer here would not only benefit your university, but our number one thing, Doc, and that is the students. So thank you. And again, we're here to support any HBCU or any individual that would like to know more about our programs in FMCSA and also USDOT. So Doc, over to you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our speakers and our participants, those in person, and particularly all of you online. Once again, we invite you to contact us for additional technical assistance in submitting FMCSA safety proposals. Particularly in the near future, what we plan to do is to conduct a follow-up session. And these sessions will be specifically tailored towards helping you to submit your FMCSA safety proposals. Don't send it to Mr. Johnson, send it to us, contact us. We can have a discussion about your proposal and research idea and potentially help you to shape your proposals to meet the requirements of FMCSA. So with that, I want to thank you once more for your participation and interest in FMCSA grants. Thank you, and we welcome, hopefully get to contact us as soon as possible. Thank you.
Meeting.